So before we get started, I will let you know what we will be covering today. Hopefully we'll get to all of these throughout the class. First, we're going to start with some terminology and descriptions. Then I will talk about how to access Word, the basic elements of the Word and layout, tabs and groups, how to save your document, how to create and open new documents, how to print your documents. So first off, Microsoft Word. It's an application for creating and working within text-based documents. So if you have any resumes or letters or papers to create, this is the program that you would use for it. Examples include letters, memos, resumes, cover letters, and flyers. The first term I'm going to go over is the ribbon. That is the area at the top of the screen in your Word document where the commands are organized into tabs, icons, and groups. So when you open a Word document, you're going to see that image at the top of the application. And this is where all of your commands are located. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different tabs, and they have certain groups within them. The tabs are 8 tabs in addition to the File tab. And you can see I highlighted in red there the different tabs. You have Home, Insert, Design, Page Layout, References, Mailings, Review, and View. There we go. And then in each tab, there are going to be a certain number of groups. I have them highlighted there at the bottom in red. So for example, in the Home tab, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 main groups. They are the related task functions, and they're organized into groups. The name of the group is below each of the task buttons there. Additional tasks are accessible by clicking on what's called the dialog box in the lower right-hand corner of each group. So if you look where it's highlighted in red there, to the right of font, you will see what looks like a little arrow pointing down into the right. That is where you can open the additional dialog box or menus. So for accessing Word, you can either use the Start menu, that's usually in the bottom left of your screen. You'll have the little Windows icon. You can click on it and you'll be able to find Word alphabetically. So in this example picture, I have, you can see it is located under the Microsoft Office, along with the other programs. One moment, there we go. There you go. Or you can also find it as a shortcut option on your desktop menu if you have created a shortcut for it. That is what the Word 2013 icon looks like, but the Word 2016 and the Word 365 icons are very similar to it. So, some basic elements of Word. A little breakdown here of what Word looks like when you first open it. Give me one moment. Here we go. So when you first open Word, it's actually going to show these options here. Let me know. Hopefully you guys can see this, but you will see lots of different templates Word comes with now. You have your standard blank document, but then you also have, for example, a calendar page, a table of contents page, resume outlines, even brochure outlines, some certificate outlines, invitation outlines. So lots of templates or outlines to choose from. They even have a little option if it's your first time in Word to take a little tour of Word, where a little video will play and it will take you through. You'll also see on the left here lots of different documents. These are your most recently used documents or most recently edited documents. So if there was a document you're working on recently and you just want to go right back to that document, you can click on it. Or you have the option to open other documents. If there's an older document you need to take a look at, you can see it here. This will only be the documents that are saved on the computer you're using at the time. So if you're trying to reach a document that's saved on another computer, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see it here. You have to be working on the computer the document is saved to. But let's just say we want to use a blank document. We can just click on the blank document and here we can see it. So now I'm going to go over the layout of Word. Here, I'm going to start at the very top left. Here you can see an image of an old floppy disk. This is the save icon. This is where you would save your document. Right next to it, it's kind of grayed out right now because we haven't edited any of this document yet. But this is the undo button. So if you make a mistake in your document, you can just click the undo and that will undo your most recent action. So let's say you space something incorrectly or you can make a typo, you can undo it. This is the redo or repeat button. If you accidentally delete something you don't mean to, or undo something you didn't mean to, you can redo it and it will just redo your most recent edit. Here at the middle top is the name of your document. Right now we haven't named this document at all, so it's just called document 1, and it lets you know it's a Word file. But if we were to title this document, the title would show up here. This has some options for your ribbon display. If you want to minimize the ribbon here, you can minimize it. Usually I keep it open though, just so I know I have access to all the commands on it. This is a minimize option here at the top right. This will just minimize the document without closing it. So if you're working on multiple programs at once, you can minimize it. Restore down just makes the document smaller. I'm going to show an example here. It just makes the window for it smaller. And then if I need to make it larger again, I can maximize. And then the red X here is going to close the document. So if I'm done with the document for the day, I will just click on that and it will close the document for good. Make sure you always save before you close, but it usually gives you an option if you click on that to save. And then here is all the tabs: the home, insert, design, layout, references, all of that. This little light bulb here is a help. It's like a help feature. So if you are trying to find where you can change the font, but you don't know where, this is a little help feature here. Going down to the sides here and here, this is your little ruler. This helps with spacing and also tells you how big the paper is going to be and how big your margins are here in the grayed out area. So this standardly is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So this is 8.5 up here, and on the side is 11 inches. Along the bottom here, this is going to tell you what page you're on. So right here in the bottom left, you can see it says page 1 of 1. So right now I'm on the first page of 1 page. If you're writing something longer, you'll probably have more pages. It will tell you how many pages total are the document, and then what page you're on of the document. Here will tell you how many words you have in your document. Right now we haven't typed anything, so there's no words. But if you're trying to reach a word limit, this will help let you know. And then here is the different, what's called layout options, how you can view the document in Word. Standardly, it's going to be automatically on the print layout. So it's going to let you know what it's going to look like when it prints out. But there is also a read mode, which is just going to have the text, but not what it's actually going to look like when it prints out. And then there's also web layout if this happens to be going online, or you're going to be putting your document online. It can show you what it's going to look like on the web. But standardly, you're going to have it in the print layout, and it's going to automatically go to that when you first open Word. And then right next to it, you can see there's like this line with a minus and a plus. This lets you zoom in and out of the document without changing the size of the text on the print layout. So if you just want to zoom into the page without making the text too big, you can zoom way in, or you can zoom way out so you can see the full document of it, but that's going to be really tiny. So standardly, it goes to 100% when you first open Word, but you can click and drag that so you can zoom in and out of the page. Or you can also click on the 100% here in the very, very bottom right. You can click on that and you can tell it to zoom to either 200%, 100%, 75, or you can type in what percent you want it to zoom into. And then just press OK. So those are all the little icons along the side there. Again, if you have any questions or if you need me to repeat anything, feel free to put it in the chat. The chat should be either on the top of your screen or the bottom of your screen, but it's going to look like a little speech bubble. Just click on that and just type in. Next, I'll go over each of these little tabs here now. So you have your home tab that opens up to when you first open Word, but there's also this file tab here right next to it. I'm going to click on that. This gives you the options to, again, open a most recently used document. So if you want to open a document that you worked on recently or need to make more changes to it, you can click on one of those and it will open them. You can also search this PC for a document that would be the computer you're currently working on, or you can click Browse. That will open the File Explorer on your current PC and you can look for a document there. You can also click on New right here on the left side. That will open up a new blank document. Info is going to give you the info on your document you currently have open. So right now it's saying it doesn't really have a size because I haven't saved it. How many pages it is, how many words, how long I've been editing it, when I created it, stuff like that. You can go to save. That is going to save the document you're working on, and you can choose where you want to save it in your file explorer. You can just save it right to your documents folder, or if you have a specific folder you want to save it to, you can click on it here, or you can click browse and find the folder you want to save it to. Save as, if I've saved the document once in one spot, but if I want to save it to a different spot on my computer, or if I want to save it to a flash or a thumb drive that I have, I can click save as, and it will save it to a new spot on the computer or thumb drive. Printing is going to print it to any printer you have connected to your computer, whether wirelessly or with a cable. Sharing it, that is where I can email the document to someone. I can save it to online or upload it to online. I can save it to the cloud, which would be like OneDrive or something like that. That is another saving example. Exporting it would be exporting it to a different program or sending it to a different program, such as a PDF reader or something like that. Or I can change the file type to a PDF or something like that. And then closing it will just close the program. That will close Word. If I hit this arrow back here up at the top, that's going to take me back to the Word document, and will take me back to the Home tab here. So in the Home tab, we have some different groups here. We have what's called the clipboard. That is where you can, if I copy something, if I copy a piece of text, it will show up on and save it to the clipboard. So I can paste it to a different part of the document or a new document. Font is where we're going to I would say where you can change how the text looks. This is where we're going to have the most style of document. And of course, it's going to be mostly a text-based document. So I'm going to have, just going to type something, example. So you can see here, the text is this type of font, Calibri, and the number right next to it is how big the font is. So if I were to highlight it and click on this number here, I can change how large the font will be, and it gives me an example how big the font will be. I can also click in and type in a number, and it will change the font to that size here. And then for font, there is another little button right here. You can click on it, and it's going to show you the font you have right now and most recently used fonts. Right there, here's a whole example of fonts. And it gives you a little example of what the font will look like. Usually, standardly, you'll see most text documents in Times New Roman, usually. But you can have lots of different example of fonts. Some of them might even be in symbols. But you can see what it will look like. There you go. And then you would just click on it. and the text has been changed to that. You can also change the font size with these two icons right here. You can increase it by 1 or decrease it by 1. Right next to that is where you can change the case of the letters. So whether it be uppercase, lowercase. You can also sentence case, which will automatically just capitalize the first word of a sentence. You can also capitalize each word or toggle the case. So anything that is uppercase will be lowercase, and anything that's lowercase will be uppercase. So like that. There we are. This little icon right here will clear all formatting. So any font changes, size changes, color changes, anything you've done like that, it will erase all of that. Underneath here is where you can bold text, so that makes it a little thicker. You can also italicize and underline right here. And you can even change what type of underline it has. Standardly, you just have the one line. Here is also strike through. That is usually saved for editing. So if you're doing some edits on any papers, you can have strike through. And then we also have subscript and superscript. So below and above. That's standardly used for either formulas or dates. So if you sometimes see, for example, on dates, say you're saying like October 2nd or something like that, you can click on this and it'll do that automatically for you. Just like that. And then we also have font effects. That's standardly if you're making like some kind of graphics, like say a certificate or invitation, and you want to have some graphics on your words, you can find that here. There's also a highlight option, and right here is where you can change the font color. So say I want this to turn a dark green, I can do that. Or I want this to change into an orange, like that. You can do that very easily right here. And you can even click on this for more colors. You can see you can choose just about any color you want right there. So that's for formatting for your font. Next to here in the paragraph group, you see here, this is where you can create bullet points or numbering, or even a multi-level numbering or outlines, especially good for papers. If you're making an outline for a paper, you can do that here. But you can also have bullet points or numbers like that. This here is also where you can increase and decrease your indent. So you can see here, usually at the start of the paragraph, there is an indent, but you can make it a smaller indent or larger indent. Right here, the little A to Z is for sorting. So if you made a list, but then you wanted it sorted alphabetically, you can highlight the list and sort it. This here, what looks like a little backwards P, this is for showing your formatting symbols. So I'm going to do, for example, I'm going to put some text in. And then I'm going to have this show the formatting symbols. I'm going to click on that, and then you can see where you have done an enter. So you can see where a line ends and the next one begins. And you can see here, there's also some dots. This indicates how many spaces you have. So you can see I accidentally put 2 spaces in between the words here. There's usually only supposed to be 1 space. So I can backspace. And you can see here now there's just 1 space. So this is going to show the formatting symbols. So let's say I also have an indentation here. You can see it here. There we are. And you can see the bullet points better too. All of that. So that can have, this will show the formatting symbols. And the nice thing about it, if you have the formatting symbols on, the formatting symbols won't print out though when you print. So all these little spaces and all these little returns, they will not show up when you print out. So you can have the benefit of seeing all of the spaces and stuff without worrying of it printing out these symbols. If these are too distracting for you, you can always just click on this again and it will go away. Okay. And then these 4 right here, these 4 symbols, these are showing what side of the paper you are aligned. So, for example, usually when you're typing, you will see that this line here starts on the side, on the left side, and when you type out, it goes from left to right. That's because this is aligned left right now. But say I wanted this to type from the middle of the page, such as when you're typing your titles or something for your title page or something like that, you'll want it typing from the center. Then you will click on this one that says center, and you will see that this now has aligned to the center of the page. And now if I were to start typing, I'm going to see that it's typing from the center of the page. If I want this to align to the right side of the page, you will click on it, this, align right. You'll see it will align to the right side of the page. And if I start typing, it's going to type from the right side of the page. This last one here is called justify. You'll see this usually like in newspapers, how they have very straight columns and all of the lines are usually and right all at the same spot in a newspaper. They usually use justify. So it will start from the left, but then all the lines will end right here. Even if you're in the middle of a word, it will end right there. So that's why they usually have hyphens sometimes in the middle of a word if it's at the end of a column, because they have justify on, so they all end at the same point. So it will cut in the middle of a word, put a hyphen, and it will finish the rest of the word on the next line. Right next to it, line and paragraph spacing. So this just makes sure that there is the same amount of spacing in the whole document. So there's the same amount of space in between each line. This is for shading or any background color you might have. If you have a background color in the document, this is where you can change the background color. This standardly is just on usually white or no shading, no color. And this right here is if you want to have a border around your word or around your page. to say I just want this in a box or something around itself and have all borders. I can just have a box around this, just like that. At the very bottom of this, there's also a table. So if I need to make a table or a chart for something, or a table for something, I can do that here. There's also borders and shading. This is where you can put a page border. Right here on the second little tab here, I can have a box. I'm just going to put a standard line border around, but you can have thicker borders, or you can even have some preloaded images. So if I wanted to say I have like fireworks or something around the page, I could do that. Little stars. I can make sure it's applied to the whole document or just one page, just like the first page. And if I hit OK, you can see there's now little stars around the page. And then these last two here. First is styles. There are some pre-selected styles or formats that they have pre-made in Word. You can select one and just apply it to the whole document if you want. Or you can do your own fonts and stuff, but you can pre-choose some. And then in the last group here, some editing. This is for finding words or text within your document. So if you notice, if you accidentally misspell one word throughout your document, you can find the word here. You can find it here and search for it here. Or you can also click on replace, and you can find the word you misspell and replace it with this other word. So if you were to misspell something, you can type it in there and tell it to replace it with there, and it will do it automatically without you having to go through the whole document and find each time you misspell a word. So that is the Home tab. This is usually your main tab that you use. But then there's a few more other tabs. We have Insert. This is where you can insert, in this first one, you can insert a cover page if you wanted to. You can insert a blank page, or you can tell it to insert a page break. So what a page break is, say you finish with one page, but you don't want to hit enter a bunch of times to get to the next page. You can just click on page break, and it will create a new page right from where you started with without having to hit enter a bunch of times. Here's also where you can insert a table into your document. In illustrations, this is where you can add images to your document, either from your computer with pictures or online pictures here. It will search the web for either illustrations or photos you can use without having to worry about copyright. Next to it is shapes. So you can add arrows, lines, circles, squares, triangles, all sorts of stuff to your document, even equation shapes. Say if you're like making a sign for something, you can add equation shapes in stars and banners, things like that. We also have Smart Art, where you can do more complex images and shapes. And here is also where you can insert a chart. Let's see. Next one, next most important one, media. Input a link to an online video. This is usually best if like you're using the document to present something. If you're printing it out, the video probably won't work as well. But you can have the link for it. Here's also where you can do some more links to any other web pages. Header and footer and page number. They are going, for example, they would be going in the margins of the page. We'll show here, for example, page number at the top of the page. Here we go. You can see here that then opens the header and footer of the document, which is the inch at the top and the inch at the bottom of the page that usually text doesn't go into, because otherwise it would get too close to the edge of the page. But you can see here, it automatically put a 1 and a 2 for the first and second page here. You can still format them. And then once you're done with them, you can click on the close header and footer button here. And it will close it. You can see they still stay, but they're kind of grayed out, because you can't click on them unless you're in the header and footer here. Next to it, text. This is where you can add more text boxes. So you'll see sometimes when they have like a little caption in newspapers and stuff, they're usually using a text box. Let's do a simple one here. You can click on it and you can drag the text box to where you want it to go. And then usually, yeah, you can put a little quote in here and stuff, and it will just be in a little box here. There you go, and click out of that. Here's also where you can input word art. Again, more attractive text and stuff like that right there. Going to hop over real quick to design. Again, this is where you can change the page color, page borders, and they have some pre-made formatting for you if you want to choose from it. Here also next to it is layout. This is where you can change your document from portrait to landscape. So standardly, when you open a Word document, is going to be in portrait, what they call portrait mode, or long ways, as you can see here. But if you put it into landscape mode, you can see it goes wide ways. So this is a lot of times what you would use for like signs or certificates. Sometimes if you're like folding over a card or something like that, you might do it in landscape. But if you're usually doing like a resume or a letter or anything like that, you'll have it in portrait mode. Next to it, margins. This is where you can choose the size of your margins. The little area at the top and the side of the document that you usually don't type in. Standardly, they have it in normal, which is 1 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom, and one inch on each side. But you can change it to 1/2 inch, Usually, yeah, usually the narrowest is usually 1/2 inch. If you go too much smaller than that, your text might be too close to the side of the document, and that's where you could have some text to get caught off when it's printed out. So you usually have to be careful. Usually 1 inch is standard. This is also where you can choose the size of the paper. So standardly is on letter size or 8.5 by 11. But you can also change it to 8.5 by 14, which is legal size. And then if you have ledger size, you can have 11 by 17. And then up here at the top, this is where you usually get into like poster size. So if you're printing out a poster, but you have to make sure that where you're printing has that paper size, or has a poster printer or something like that. But standardly, you're going to be doing 8.5 by 11, but you can also have even envelope size or postcard size. It just depends where you're printing if it has that size of paper. This is also where you can select to have columns. Standardly, it's in 1 column. But this is also, you can select to have it as 2 equal columns, 3 equal columns, a smaller column on the left or a smaller column on the right. And then even here, you can click on customizing more columns. If you want 1 column to be larger than the other, something like that. Standardly, they usually only go up to 3, but you can see if you can go up more than that. Usually, if it's more than that, the column is too small. And then you can select to apply it to the whole document or to a specific page or some point forward. You can also even select to have a line between each column, so it's a little bit easier to read. And then whether you can see whether 1 column is larger than the other, and then how much space is in between each column as well. Here's also where you can select how large you want your indents to be. Hang on for references. This is specifically for paper writing or thesis writing. You can select to have table of contents and footnotes and citations. Mailings is if you set up a mailing address in Word. You can save your mailing address in Word if you would like, and your emails. And then these last 2, review and views, is usually for at the end when you've written your paper or resume or anything like that. You can have your spelling and grammar checks, thesaurus check if you want to think of a different word for your words. Here's also where you can get your word count as well. Translate in language. If English is not your first language or you want to write your paper in a different language, you can set that here. And then this is also where you can put up markups or, comments in the paper. And then view, again, this is just like in the bottom right, you can select how you want to view your document, whether in web layout or read mode. Standardly, it's in print layout. You can turn the ruler on the side on and off if you want. I usually standardly have it on though, just so you can see. You can also put on grid lines. This is specifically if you're making a lot of I would say like graphics or stuff like that, so you can make sure that all lines up. There we go. And a navigation page. So when you're searching for a word, you can have that up. And again, zoom. And whether you view just one page at a time like that, or you want to be able to view multiple pages at a time. And those are the most important functions in the tabs. I'm going to pause for one moment. Again, if you have any questions, if you there's anything I haven't touched on yet that you want me to talk about, let me know in the chat. We do only have about 10 more minutes left in the class. So if there's anything you want me to touch on again, or I haven't touched on yet, let me know real quick in the chat. There we go. There we go. Also letting you know, if you think of any questions after the class, that is my work email right there, christinav@phlibrary.org. You can shoot me a message there anytime, and I'd be happy to answer any technical questions. I will touch on right now, since we're there, again, how to save. You would go to File and click on Save, and the first time you save, it's going to automatically open Save As. And you have the option, again, either to click on one of these file folders here to save it into, or you can click on Browse, and it will open up your File Explorer here, this window here. And then once you're in the correct file folder, you can usually find it here on the left side. You will go down here where it says File Name, and you would create a file name for your file. You usually don't want it to be the same as any other file name you've done already. Otherwise, it will let you know that you already have a file saved under that name, and it will ask you whether you want to replace that file or create a new file. You don't want to usually replace the file. So let's say this is just example 1, and then you have the option to save as what file type you want to save. Usually it's going to automatically have a Word document as the file type, but you can click on it. You can see there's lots of different options. You usually want the first one, Word document, but you can save it as an older Word document. For example, like that. You can even save it as a PDF or a web page or plain text. Usually you just want to click on the first one here, and then you're just going to hit where it says save here. It's highlighted in blue. Click on that, and you will see now the document name has changed to example 1. When you want to save it again, you can either just click on the floppy disk image here, right there. You would just click on it. It would automatically save again without having to open the File Explorer again. Or again, you can hit on File. You can do Save. Or you can do Save As if you want to save it in a new spot. Say I want to save it on a flash drive instead. Or if I just wanted to save it in a different file folder on my computer, I would click Save As and then select the file folder I want to actually save it in. Or if I have a flash drive plugged in, it should show up right in this area here. It should say like flash drive or drive D. That is usually where flash drives are in. You would click on it, and then you would, it will again ask you for the file name you want, what file type, and then you would just hit save, and it would be all set to go. Okay. We are winding down here. Again, if there's anything I haven't touched on, feel free to put it in the chat here in the either bottom or the top of your screen.